There is a quiet moment that almost everyone experiences at some point in life, and when it happens, it feels unsettling at first. You look around your room, you scroll through your phone, you look at the people you call friends, family, colleagues, and a strange realization slowly settles in. No one is coming to rescue you. No one is secretly preparing to invest in your dreams. No one is going to show up every morning and force you to stay disciplined when you feel exhausted. And if you fall, most of the time there will be no dramatic moment where someone catches you before you hit the ground. For many people, this realization feels heavy. It feels lonely. Some interpret it as proof that life is unfair, or that the world has abandoned them. But a small percentage of people experience the exact same realization and feel something completely different. Instead of despair, they feel clarity. Instead of panic, they feel freedom. Because the moment you truly understand that no one is coming to build your life for you, something inside you shifts. You stop waiting. You stop explaining your ambitions to people who cannot see what you see. You stop hoping for approval before taking action. And strangely, the absence of support stops feeling like a disadvantage and begins to feel like a kind of power. Think about how society conditions us from the beginning. School trains us to depend on group projects. Culture encourages us to constantly seek approval, validation, collaboration, permission. We are taught that success happens through networks, through connections, through having the right people around us. And while relationships can matter, there is a dangerous side effect to believing that progress depends on other people. Because the moment your success depends on someone else's approval, attention, investment, or motivation, you are no longer fully in control of your direction. Your pace slows down, your vision becomes diluted, your decisions become cautious because you are trying to keep everyone comfortable. And slowly, without realizing it, you begin handing pieces of your future to people who are thinking about their own lives, their own comfort, their own priorities. When you expect encouragement from others, you create a subtle dependency. When someone supports you emotionally, you start to rely on that support. When someone funds you, they gain influence over your direction. When someone constantly reassures you, you begin to lose the ability to generate your own internal momentum. What most people call support can quietly turn into a cage made of expectations, obligations, and compromises. That is why some of the most powerful transformations begin at what we could call the 0 point, the moment when you realize that there is no external structure carrying you forward, no cheering crowd, no mentor guiding every step, no safety net that guarantees comfort if things fail. At first, the 0 point feels empty, but that emptiness contains something most people never experience: complete ownership of your path. When there is no one directing you, no one funding you, no one supervising you, you also have no masters. Your speed becomes your decision. Your standards become your decision. Your direction becomes your decision. Many people never taste this level of freedom because they are constantly negotiating their ambitions with the expectations of others, and that negotiation slowly drains their intensity. Another shift happens when you stop chasing approval. A large amount of human behavior is driven by the desire to be liked. People want their ideas validated. They want their family to understand them. They want their friends to support their plans. But approval is a fragile source of motivation. The moment criticism appears, motivation collapses. The moment someone doubts your idea, your confidence weakens. But when you stop needing emotional applause, your engine changes. Instead of running on encouragement, you start running on internal conviction. And internal conviction is far more stable. When people doubt you, it doesn't slow you down, it sharpens your focus. When someone ignores your ambition, it doesn't break you, it removes distraction. Instead of wasting energy trying to convince others, you redirect that energy toward execution. Imagine a commander preparing for a difficult mission. If his entire strategy depends on a large group staying perfectly coordinated, the operation becomes fragile. But if the mission can be executed by a single highly focused individual, the plan becomes faster and more adaptable. In many ways, working without constant support forces you to become more strategic. You cannot rely on meetings, committees, or endless discussions. You have to observe, decide, and act. Speed becomes your advantage. Focus becomes your advantage. Silence becomes your advantage. One of the most underestimated disciplines is what some people call the ghost phase. This is a period where you stop announcing your ambitions to the world. Most people leak their energy by talking about their goals constantly. The moment they have an idea, they rush to tell friends, post hints online, or seek feedback. But every time you talk about a goal before executing it, your brain receives a small reward, as if progress already happened. That small reward weakens the pressure that normally drives action. When you keep your plans quiet, something interesting happens. The tension stays inside you. The idea keeps expanding in your mind. The pressure builds, and eventually that pressure demands release through work, learning, experimentation, and improvement. Silence becomes fuel. During this phase, isolation can become extremely productive if used correctly. Without constant social obligations, you gain long, uninterrupted stretches of attention. You can immerse yourself in learning skills, studying systems, improving your craft, and building something valuable without distraction. While others divide their attention between dozens of small social expectations, you channel your attention into depth. Obsession begins to form. An obsession, when directed toward mastery, becomes one of the strongest competitive advantages a person can develop. At some point during this process, another challenge appears: doubt. Not the loud external kind, but the quiet internal kind that shows up late at night when everything is uncertain. You may wonder whether you misunderstood your potential. You may question whether the people who doubted you were right. Every person who pursues an unconventional path experiences this phase. It feels like walking through a long fog where the destination is invisible. But this period has an important function. It forces you to develop psychological independence. You begin learning how to guide yourself. Instead of waiting for reassurance, you build internal discipline. Instead of needing someone to push you forward, you become the person who gives yourself orders. In a strange way, you become both the leader and the follower inside your own mind. One part of you feels tired, emotional, uncertain. Another part of you becomes the commander that says, "Stand up, focus, keep going." Over time, the commanding voice becomes stronger. This internal structure becomes critical when you realize that freedom without discipline leads to chaos. If you have no boss, no schedule, and no accountability, it becomes very easy to drift into comfort. The brain naturally seeks the easiest path. Without structure, hours disappear into distractions, small tasks, and meaningless consumption. That is why people who succeed without external support create strict personal protocols. They treat their routines like non-negotiable laws rather than suggestions. The morning begins with decisive action, instead of negotiation with the alarm clock. Work happens in focused blocks without interruptions. Information consumption becomes intentional instead of random. At the end of the day, there is an honest review. Did I actually move forward today, or did I just stay busy? This kind of structure replaces the external systems most people rely on. It builds internal accountability. Another important shift happens in how you interpret negative emotions. Most people try to escape discomfort. When they feel lonely, rejected, or frustrated, they numb the feeling with entertainment, scrolling, food, or other distractions. But emotions contain energy. Anger contains energy. Frustration contains energy. Even disappointment contains energy. When those emotions are redirected into creation, learning, and effort, they become powerful fuel. Instead of weakening you, they push you to produce. Instead of shutting down your momentum, they amplify it. The key is learning how to convert emotional pressure into productive output. Over time, this builds a unique resilience. While others become paralyzed by emotional setbacks, you become activated by them. Another unexpected outcome appears later in the journey. When you spend enough time developing skills, producing results, and building something valuable, attention begins to appear naturally. People who ignored your early efforts suddenly become interested. Opportunities appear that previously felt impossible. Invitations arrive. Recognition grows. The strange part is that this attention often arrives after you stop needing it. And when it does arrive, you see it differently. You no longer depend on it. You simply observe it. Because the real asset was never external support. The real asset was the capability you built while no one was watching. That capability cannot be taken away easily because it lives inside your skills, your habits, your mindset, and your experience. And that realization produces a kind of calm confidence. You understand that even if everything disappeared tomorrow, you could rebuild again because you now know how to create momentum from nothing. The journey that started with an empty room eventually turns into something else entirely. The silence that once felt uncomfortable becomes clarity. The independence that once felt lonely becomes strength. And the discipline that once felt harsh becomes freedom. Because the moment you stop waiting for someone else to validate your direction, You step into full ownership of your life. And once that happens, everything changes. Short, no one is coming to save you, and that's your greatest advantage. The moment you stop waiting for support is the moment you become unstoppable.